We are back with some Premier League predictions, and it is Matchweek 27 for this weekend. Lots of things are getting heat up going in to this weekend's fixtures in the title race, the race for Europe, and in and around our relegation battle. So we're going to get straight into it. The first game on Saturday afternoon is between Aston Villa up against Leeds United, 3rd place versus 15th place. Now, Aston Villa, they currently sit 3rd place right now on 50 points. I've said it once before, and I'm going to say it again. Aston Villa are not in a title race. It's going to be a 2-horse race between Arsenal and Man City, though. They are 3rd place inside those Champions League spots right now. They did win their recent Premier League game against Brighton, where apparently I think it was a Hinshelwood own goal, I believe. Though I'm not too sure. I think it was, though, actually. And literally after that, they got knocked out of the FA Cup where they've lost 3-1 to Newcastle. And they were down to 10 men for most of that game as well. Leeds United, on the other hand, they've also won in the FA Cup and they are through to the 5th round. They've picked up a really good draw away at Chelsea where they were 2-0 down. And they came back to earn a good point, though. Leeds away from home, they have been struggling, though. And I would be surprised, if they were to continue on this momentum. Now, if they were to gain another point away from home this weekend, though, Leeds, they are currently sitting 6 points clear of the relegation zone. I feel like if Leeds starting to continue to pick up more points, then their chances of surviving will increase heavily. But I feel like Aston Villa at Villa Park, though, Aston Villa will have enough to take all 3 points. I'm going to go for a score prediction of Aston Villa 2, Leeds 1. The next game is between Brentford and they take on Brighton. 7th place versus 14th place. Brentford have been really impressive this season. They are 7th in the Premier League, which is potentially a Conference League spot. And look, Brentford, they've been playing very well. They picked up 2 wins and 1 draw. That 1 draw was against Arsenal, where they were playing so well and could have easily won that game. And look, Keith Andrews will probably, be nominated as manager of the season if Brentford can actually push for Europe. Brighton, on the other hand, Brighton are in loads of trouble at this point because, look, Brighton, they are 14th place right now. They are potentially in a relegation battle, or they'll probably end up finishing mid-table, though. However, Fabian Hurtler, look, might just be in trouble at this point, though. The fans are starting to, want him out. Now they're turning on him, and look, it doesn't get much worse than him and Brighton. So, I'm going to go for a score prediction of Brentford 2, Brighton 0. I think Brentford look very solid at home, so I think they'll take all 3 points. The next game is between Chelsea facing Burnley. Now, Burnley have finally picked up a win in 16 matches, beating Crystal Palace 3-2 away from home, coming back from 2-0 down to winning 3-2. But Burnley did get knocked out of the FA Cup, where they lost to Mansfield, though. Burnley still sit 19th on 18 points, though. Do they have a chance, though? They'll probably go down to the Championship. That's all we're saying right now. But they still have nothing left for them at this point. Chelsea, on the other hand, I think Chelsea, look, they have been really good under Liam Rosenior, though. However, look, that winning run came to an end where they've drawn against Leeds when they were 2-0 up and ended up bottling it, though. And look, I feel like at Stamford Bridge, though, I feel like Chelsea will have enough to take all 3 points in this game. They are in 5th place, which 5th place is potentially a Champions League spot. And look, I think Chelsea will want to continue that momentum in order to fight for those top 4 and top 5 spots as well. Let's also mention that Chelsea are also through to the FA Cup 5th round as well. So, I'm going to be going for a score prediction of Chelsea 3, Burnley 1. Next up, we've got West Ham, and they face Bournemouth. Now, West Ham have been doing very well in their last 5 Premier League games. Just 1 loss in their last 5 Premier League games, though. And look, West Ham, they still sit 18th place. This time they're only 3 points, literally, ahead of, behind Nottingham Forest. 3 points off survival. They did pick up a draw against Manchester United where they conceded late on. No, by the way, they've dropped points in stoppage time. No, and look, West Ham, they are actually showing some real positive signs of them trying to stay up, though. And look, West Ham, though, their squad is actually ticking right now. I think Nuno has done what is needed for them this season, though. They have been poor, but look, I think Nuno and West Ham are trying their best to do that in surviving. Bournemouth, on the other hand, I think Bournemouth, though, they are sitting in, I believe it's 9th place, I believe. They are 9th place right now after beating Everton the other day. And look, Bournemouth are currently unbeaten in their last 6 Premier League games. So it's going to be another tough game for West Ham. So, look, I think I'm going to go for a draw here, though. I'm going to go West Ham 1, Bournemouth 1. Next up on Saturday night, we got Manchester City up against Newcastle. 2nd place versus 10th place. And Manchester City are lurking. They are literally keeping an eye on Arsenal right now. The Blue Sharks are coming. As you know, Manchester City, they are 2nd in the Premier League. However, this time they are now 5 points behind Arsenal. And yet again, another opportunity for Man City to close the gap. They have a game in hand as well. Obviously, Manchester City have beaten Newcastle in both games in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Newcastle, on the other hand, Newcastle have won their last 3 games in all competitions, though. All 3 of those were away from home. By the way, that is an issue for Newcastle because they are struggling away from home. Yeah, their recent results, though, obviously they won their recent Premier League game away at Tottenham. They've also beaten Aston Villa in the FA Cup, and they are through to the 5th round. Just to mention, guys, that these 2 teams do meet each other in the FA Cup 5th round. And Newcastle also beating Karabag 6-1 away from home. And they pretty much have got 1 foot in towards the round of 16 as well. And look, I'd be surprised if Newcastle were to manage to get a result at the Etihad, though. But I feel like Manchester City, they'll be too strong there. And I'll be honest, I can see them scoring a lot of goals in this fixture as well. The likes of Haaland, Marmoush, Cherki, Foden, Semenyo. Their attack will be so full. They'll run riot in that game. I'm going to go Manchester City 4, Newcastle 0. Up next, we got Crystal Palace versus Wolves. 13th place versus 19th place. 20th place, sorry. And look, both of these 2 teams do sit in the bottom half of the table. Crystal Palace, though, I'm not so sure. Are they in a relegation battle? Or are they just going to battling out for who will finish in mid-table, though? As you know, guys, by the time I'm recording this, Crystal Palace did, pick up a draw today against Zrinski Monster. And that's what you call it in the Conference League playoffs, though. First leg. They still have the second leg to play for next week as well. Crystal Palace, though, they are in the Conference League, though. Let's not forget, though. But I'm not sure they'll be able to go far in that competition, though, due to, their squad is looking right now. And Wolves, on the other hand, Wolves literally sit rock bottom, 20th place. They've only won 1 game this whole season. And they have now picked up 10 points. They are officially now on double digits. They've picked up a draw against Arsenal, which we're going to talk about later on. And Wolves, though, can they actually, beat Derby's record, though? And look, Wolves, they're pretty much done and dusted, getting ready for the championship. But I think Wolves are showing, a bit of fight, saying that they want to go for it, though. Even though it's all over at this stage. And I can see it end up being a draw as well in that game. I'm going to go Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 1. Up next, we got Nottingham Forest taking on Liverpool. Now, Vitor Pereira is off to a winning start as Nottingham Forest manager. And yes, by the time I'm recording this, Forest have just beaten Fenerbahce away from home 3-0 in the Europa League playoff first leg. And they still have the second leg, which is 1 foot away from reaching around the 16. Yeah, Nottingham Forest, though, they have recently, drawn against Wolves, which sacked Sean Dyche, though, and they've appointed Vitor Pereira. Like, I have never seen a team having 4 managers in one season. Like, that is insane. Forest do sit 17th place right now, and they are only 3 points off the relegation zone right now. And look, they'll be going into this game, though, with apparently, a bit of, confidence and belief, though, against Liverpool. Liverpool have been a bit inconsistent, though. They are showing, signs of, good form right now. Obviously, they've beaten Sunderland away from home, literally, last week. And they've also beaten Brighton in the FA Cup, and they are through to the next round, the 5th round, actually. And look, Liverpool do tend to struggle in this fixture. Because, look, Nottingham Forest did actually beat them 3-0 earlier on back in November, though. Can Vitor Pereira get a manager bounce in the Premier League, though? Nottingham Forest do tend to turn up in this fixture as well. But I'm actually going to go for a score prediction of 1-0 to Liverpool. I think that Forest will give them a good game, though. But I feel like Liverpool, with the quality that they have, they'll probably have enough to take all 3 points. Next up, we got Sunderland, and they take on Fulham. 11th place versus 12th place. Both teams sit in the bottom half of the table right now. Sunderland, though, their unbeaten home record came to an end when they lost 1-0 to Liverpool. And look, Fulham, on the other hand, they have lost their last 3 Premier League games in a row. And both teams are through to the FA Cup 5th round as well. And this is a very hard one to predict, though. Fulham have been struggling away from home, though. Sunderland, though, despite, losing that once at home this season, look, they might potentially win this, though. But I think it might end in a draw. I'm probably going to go 0-0 in this game. And the next game is a big one. It's the biggest game of the weekend on Super Sunday night. It's the 199th North London derby. It is Tottenham Hotspur up against Arsenal. This is a huge game, obviously, for both teams this season, and could be, pivotal in, their respective areas in the Premier League table. Let's start off with Arsenal, because look, Arsenal. Is it actually happening again? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, Arsenal fans. Because is it actually happening again? Is this going to be another year where Arsenal bottle the Premier League once again? And look, that's what we've been, saying all season long, though. Because look, Arsenal, when it comes, crunch time, when it matters, they always fumble it. When the pressure's on, they crumble. And that is something wrong with Arsenal. That's the issue that they have right now. Because Man City are literally lurking. They are catching them literally by the scruff of their teeth. They are sniffing, down that table, literally. They are trying to close in the gap on Arsenal, piling more pressure on Arsenal, literally. And look, Arsenal, in terms of their, Premier League form right now, obviously they picked up back-to-back draws. They drawn against Wolves, by the way. And they have now thrown another chance to extend their lead at the top. Before that, they also drawn against Brentford, though, as well, with another big chance to extend their lead at the top. Obviously, they're still in all 4 competitions, though. They are in the FA Cup 5th round and all that, though they beat Wigan, at the weekend. But look, Arsenal, this could be a huge one for Arsenal, though, because look, anyhow they slip up in the game, title might be over at some point for them, though. A 2-point gap, yeah, Arsenal could potentially fumble this. Tottenham, on the other hand, Tottenham, they're just nothing but an embarrassment, this season. Look, they've lost yet again at home to Newcastle, and they've sacked Thomas Frank. Yeah, and look, Tottenham have appointed Igor Tudor as interim head coach from now to the end of the season. And Tottenham are in a relegation battle. Literally, this time they're only 5 points off relegation. They're 5 points off the drop zone. And look, Spurs, look, they're probably desperate, for points on the board. Because let's not forget, they haven't won a game in 2026 this season at all. And look, Tottenham, though, they do potentially struggle against Arsenal. I mean, they always literally get battered in this game. Literally, obviously, they lost 4-1, literally, when these two teams met earlier on in the season. Spurs haven't even beaten Arsenal since 2022. By the way, I'm just, saying a fact. But can Spurs actually try and actually get something? Not only does that, push the final nail in the coffin for Arsenal's title hopes, it can pull themselves away from relegation. Can Spurs actually, try and do something in this North London derby, though? But look, I'd be shocked if they were to get, a point or a win. If they were to get 3 points in that game. But I feel like Arsenal, can't lie, this could be, a huge pivotal moment for them in the title race, though. It may only be Spurs, but look, you have to be what's in front of you if you want to win this title. Because look, Arsenal, if they literally don't win this game, it's probably over by then. I'm going to go 3-1 to Arsenal, though. But it will be the shock of the weekend if Arsenal drop points again in this game, to be fair. And finally, on Monday night, we got Everton taking on Manchester United. And look, this is a David Moyes derby as well. Everton currently right now, they are in 8th place right now. They're only a few points behind that European spot right now. Their home form is looking very bad at the moment, though. I don't even remember the last time they actually won a home game in the Premier League, though. I mean, their recent form overall, 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss in their last 5 games. Manchester United, on the other hand, I think Manchester United have been doing very well under Michael Carrick, though. Unbeaten in the last 9 Premier League games, so in his first 5 games in charge of Manchester United, though, under Michael Carrick, 4 wins and 1 draw. That 1 draw was against West Ham, which Manchester United were awful in that game. And look, I think this should be a wake-up call, in that game, for this game, on Monday. Because look, it is in a response for Manchester United, though. Because look, we do sit 4th place right now, only a point above Chelsea and 3 points above Liverpool. Right now, we do sit in the top 4 right now as we speak. And look, it's going to be a very tough game, though, in this game. Because look, Everton, they did beat us earlier, back in November. Though, that's when we had a Ruben Amorim in charge. But look, I mean, hopefully, we can actually get 3 points in this game, though. But it is going to be a very difficult game, though. Away at Everton, Hill Dixon Stadium is going to be tough. But I'm going to go for a score prediction of a 1-1 draw. I mean, look, in Michael Carrick, we trust. And that wraps up my Premier League predictions for the weekend. And then I'm going to be showing you guys the Premier League table based on my predictions and based on my results. This is how the Premier League table is looking based on my results. Arsenal still top of the league, though, this time by 5 points, having played an extra game. Man City, 5 points behind Arsenal in second. Aston Villa still in 1st place. Chelsea move up to 4th place. Manchester United drop down to 5th place. Liverpool is still in 6th place. Brentford in 7th place. Everton in 8th place. Bournemouth in 9th place. Sunderland in 10th place. Newcastle dropped down to 11th place. Fulham in 12th place. Crystal Palace in 13th place. Brighton in 14th place. Leeds in 15th place. Pretty much the bottom 5 looks the same. And West Ham, literally, they are currently, only 2 points off safety. Don't forget to follow, like, comment, and follow up for more content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, I will be live for watch along in these games. Thank you.